That red's gonna run. I can always tell.
Did you ever see Francis 8?
What if death wasn't the enemy, but the price of being truly free? Logan's Run doesn't ask why people die. It asks who gets to decide when and whether a life without mortality is still a life worth living. Fact 1. Logan's Run treats mortality as a threat to social stability. In most societies, death is personal. In Logan's Run, death is administrative. Mortality is not feared because it's painful, it's feared because it's unpredictable. The system doesn't eliminate death to protect people, it eliminates uncertainty to protect order. The film suggests a chilling idea. Freedom dies the moment death is scheduled. Fact 2. The promise of eternal youth is really a fear of impermanence. The city doesn't celebrate youth because it loves youth. It celebrates youth because youth doesn't remind people of endings. Wrinkles, decline, and aging force reflection. Reflection threatens obedience. By freezing society in youth, the system avoids grief, avoids legacy, avoids existential questions. The film argues that fear of death often disguises itself as love of life. Fact 3. Logan enforces death before he understands life. Logan begins the story enforcing Carousel without ever questioning mortality. He believes death is necessary, humane, fair. What he lacks isn't compassion, it's experience. The film makes an important point. You cannot judge the value of life until you've faced the possibility of losing it. Logan enforces death because he's never had to imagine dying unscheduled. Fact 4. Freedom in Logan's Run exists until death is questioned. People inside the city feel free. Free love, free pleasure, free movement. But the moment someone asks to live longer, that freedom vanishes instantly. The film exposes a paradox. A society that offers pleasure but forbids survival is not free, it's conditional. Freedom that ends at death was never freedom at all. Fact 5. Logan's Run suggests mortality is what gives freedom its value. Without death, choices don't matter, time has no weight, life has no urgency. The film quietly argues that mortality is what gives freedom its value. If life never ends, neither does avoidance. By removing death, the system removes consequence, and consequence is what turns freedom into responsibility. Fact 6. Logan's Run suggests immortality shrinks courage. Courage exists because loss is possible. In the city, death is scheduled, risk is artificial, loss is controlled. People don't choose bravery, they perform safety. The film implies that immortality doesn't empower people, it trains them to avoid uncertainty. Without the possibility of real loss, courage atrophies. Fact 7. Fear of death quietly becomes fear of choice. The system teaches citizens to fear unscheduled death. That fear expands. Soon, people fear leaving the city, asking questions, making irreversible decisions. Choice itself becomes dangerous. The film reveals a subtle transformation. When death is regulated, choice becomes rebellion. Fact 8. The city protects life by removing responsibility. No one plans a future. No one builds a legacy. No one prepares for decline. Why? Because responsibility requires time, and time has been capped. By removing responsibility, the system removes long-term thinking, moral ownership, and personal consequence. The film suggests that a life without responsibility isn't liberated, it's infantilized. Fact 9. Logan's authority exists because others don't want to decide. Logan isn't feared, he's accepted, because enforcing death relieves others from making moral choices. They don't have to ask, is this right? Is this necessary? Logan carries that burden for them. The film exposes a hard truth. People often surrender freedom to avoid responsibility for difficult decisions. Fact 10. Mortality is treated as a system error, not a human reality. In the city, death outside Carousel is a malfunction, a glitch, a problem. The film reframes this thinking as dangerous. By treating mortality as an error, grief is eliminated, reflection disappears, humanity thins out. Death isn't removed, it's denied, and denial always returns with consequences. Fact 11. Logan's Run shows that freedom begins with the right to refuse death. Inside the city, everyone is free until they refuse Carousel. The moment someone says, "I don't want to die yet," they stop being a citizen and become a criminal. The film makes a brutal claim. If you are not allowed to refuse death, you were never free to begin with. Freedom without refusal is obedience in disguise. Fact 12. Mortality creates identity because it forces commitment. When life has no open-ended future, every choice gains weight. Outside the city, Logan encounters aging, decay, continuity. For the first time, actions matter because time is irreversible. The film suggests that identity forms only when choices cannot be reset. Mortality forces commitment, and commitment is the foundation of selfhood. Fact 13. The system fears aging because aging produces perspective. The system eliminates aging not because it is weak, but because it is dangerous. Aging produces memory, comparison, long-term judgment. Older people remember alternatives, they question inevitability. The film implies that the system fears elders more than rebels because elders carry proof that things can be different. Fact 14. Logan's awakening is not about living longer, but living authentically. Logan doesn't run because he wants immortality. He runs because he wants time without permission, life without a countdown, choices without surveillance. The film reframes escape as an identity shift, from living on schedule to living on meaning. Freedom isn't about duration, it's about ownership of time. Fact 15. Logan's Run suggests that choosing death can be meaningful only if life was free. Carousel pretends to make death meaningful, but meaning requires choice. The film draws a sharp line. Choosing death in a free life is sacrifice. Being assigned death in a controlled life is disposal. Only freedom gives mortality dignity. Fact 16. The system was never designed to face death, only to delay it. The city claims to have solved death. In reality, it only postponed confrontation with it. Carousel doesn't eliminate mortality, it ritualizes avoidance. By scheduling death, the system avoids grief, uncertainty, existential reckoning. The film argues something brutal. A society that refuses to face death will eventually lose the ability to face life. Fact 17. When mortality returns, the system has no moral language left. When Logan introduces the truth of aging and survival, the system doesn't argue, it malfunctions. Why? Because it has no moral framework for old age, continuity, responsibility across time. The city was built to manage pleasure, not meaning. The film suggests that systems optimized for comfort collapse when confronted with permanence. Fact 18. Mortality is what forces societies to care about the future. Inside the city, there is no future planning. Why plan if no one will be there to see it? Outside the city, aging people preserve, teach, remember. The film reframes mortality as a future-making force. Without death, nothing needs to last. Without death, nothing needs to matter. Fact 19. Logan's Run shows that escaping death also escapes accountability. In the city, no one is responsible for tomorrow. No one answers for yesterday. By removing mortality, the system removes accountability. The film suggests that accountability only exists when lives extend long enough to face consequences. A society without death is also a society without responsibility. Fact 20. Logan's Run ultimately argues that mortality is the price of freedom. The final truth of Logan's Run is uncomfortable. Freedom and mortality are inseparable. To be free is to risk loss, accept endings, live without guarantees. The system chose safety over freedom. Logan chooses mortality and meaning. The film leaves us with its most radical claim. A life without death may be long, but it will never be fully human. Logan's Run doesn't ask us to fear death. It asks us to fear a world so terrified of death that it sacrifices freedom to avoid it. Because when death is forbidden, so is choice. If you enjoy films that challenge what freedom really costs, stories that question immortality instead of worshiping it, and facts that make old sci-fi feel disturbingly relevant today, go ahead and subscribe. This channel isn't about escape fantasies. It's about the ideas that force us to ask whether living longer actually means living better.